This will blow your mind. I'm going to send you the link. The very last interview I had on what's called Something Up My Sleeve, which is sponsored by the International Brotherhood of Magicians. I interview magicians. Lance Burton was my last guest.
No way!
I'm gonna send you the link. He's incredible. He's been one of my heroes since I was 12.
Welcome to another exciting episode of the Dre and Smiley, the Inner Circle podcast.
Smiley, man, I'm excited to have this next guest on. Let me read a quick bio, then we'll jump right into it. Today, get ready to be dazzled as we welcome a true master of magic. With over 30 first place and championship awards to his name, Michael Darden stands as one of the highest ranked magicians in the United States. From captivating audiences at the prestigious Hollywood Magic Castle to enhancing crowds at the Chicago Magic Lounge, Michael's spellbinding performances have earned him accolades and an admiration worldwide. Join us as we uncover the secrets behind the mesmerizing illusion and explore the captivating journey of this extraordinary magician. Get ready to believe in the magic of Michael Darden. Michael, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited. This is great.
Yeah. So let's start at the beginning. Did you come out of the womb trying to make things disappear? How did you get into magic? Talk about the journey.
Almost. My earliest memory, actually, which had to be reminded, I had to be reminded of, because when people used to ask me, when did you start magic? Well, I got really serious at around 13. And because that's when I felt like, that's when I cracked the books and started really learning sleight of hand. That's what I was telling people. And senior year of high school, my kindergarten girlfriend is standing next to me as someone asked me that same question. And I said, I started at 13. She's like, that's not true. I went to your first magic show when you were 5 years old. I had totally forgotten at that point that I got a magic kit from Santa Claus when I was 5, learned every trick in the box, did a show for the neighborhood in my front yard, and invited all the kids over, and she happened to live right next to me. And I had totally forgotten, put it up on the shelf, and I don't even know when it ended up happening. We moved, and I don't know what happened to that magic kit, my original kit. But I had an interest that early on, and kind of had forgotten that I was sort of led down that path. And then started going to things like at the library to a juggling workshop, and I saw Ronald McDonald slam a salt shaker through a table, and I was just hooked. And then, of course, when I started watching like David Copperfield on television, I felt like I had to learn this. I was just intrigued, and it just kept going from there.
That's fascinating. The fact that you had a girlfriend in kindergarten.
That's pretty good. You would think I didn't need the magic, right? Like,
all right.
Most guys. See, I was young enough that I got into magic because I loved magic and never even realized how much of an icebreaker it is and how easy it is to meet girls. I didn't know that. I was too young. Guys that get into magic later, they have a specific path in mind, and they're like, I'm going to learn some magic so I can walk up to a girl at a bar and blow her mind. And it is an amazing icebreaker. My best example, not that I would promote smoking, but the easiest one for me was the girl had a cigarette. Because I'd walk up to a girl. Now picture a girl that will never even turn around and talk to you, won't acknowledge you. She's at the bar with her friends, like she's not going to give you the time of day. But I'll go.
That never happens to me, but I'll pretend. Keep going.
So, yeah, I mean, obviously, you might not be able to relate. I can see that. I walk up, take her cigarette, say, "Can I see that for a second?" Take her cigarette, make it vanish right in front of her, and then just walk away. Don't even say anything, just walk away. And now the girl that would never give you the time of day is going, hang on, wait a minute, come back here.
Come back here.
You see that? Come here. So it is an amazing, not just in that situation, but in any situation. I always encourage people, and when I'm talking to like corporate events, I tell people learn at least one really cool trick, because it is the best icebreaker in the world.
Sure. Tell me this, Michael. You were fortunate. You knew what you wanted to do at a young age. When anyone discovers their gift, their talent, and they start to pursue it, generally there's obstacles that will test their dedication to this craft, to this career, whatever it is. Talk to me about some of the obstacles you experienced and how you overcame them and continue to push forward.
Well, there's been obstacles everywhere. Not only learning to face rejection, because I'm not only in the entertainment field of trying to book my own shows, but I've been in the film industry since I was 18, and I first moved to New Orleans actually to pursue film and pursue acting. And you want to learn how to handle rejection, start going to auditions, because it's such a numbers game of like, you just have to let it go, because if you wonder why didn't they pick me, why didn't they like me, you won't be able to make it. You won't be able to last. You have to just kind of like take each audition, let it go like a little bird, and just see where it goes and see what happens. And as far as like obstacles, it seems, especially being in this city, every time I would get something going, something major would hit, like Hurricane Katrina.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
little things like hurricanes can be
Right.
obstacles. But I guess
Yeah.
the main obstacle is also people that don't understand the pursuit of something like this. Uh, Fortunately, my parents were always extremely supportive. I think a lot of people deal with parents that just want you to have a secure job, that want you to have a college degree, that really want to see that you don't take those kind of risks. They would consider it risks. And my parents were always from early on supportive of me and kind of trained me to accept those obstacles. So it was, I got, I think, a little more flack from school in high school, for like my guidance counselor trying to convince me that I should have a backup plan. And I was kind of like, this is the backup plan. Like I need to keep doing this. I can't really visualize myself doing anything else. And that was the one thing that I knew. Once you know what you're good at, if you can figure out a way to pursue it, then you're gonna be happy, even though you have to overcome obstacles, and you just have to keep plugging away, because that's my thing, that's what I do. And I just told my niece, which I think is a great piece of advice, that she's in high school. I said, as you look for inspiration, try to remember that inspiration finds you.
I like
And that's
that.
that's how I felt along the way. That I didn't choose to become a magician. That chose me. That's a like all through all the different things that happened leading up to now was like, nope, that's what you're supposed to do. This, as weird as it is, as strange it is to say on an airplane to somebody, yeah, I am a magician. Uh, I
And
knew
like,
that.
no, for real, what do you do?
Yeah, well, actually, I
Is
wait
this,
till I wait till I'm landing.
oh,
You wait
okay.
till the tray tables go up, because
Okay.
otherwise you're going to be awkwardly facing this way like this, trying to do
Right.
sleight of hand, because like one guy, he waits to, and most people do that, they wait to start, they're polite enough to realize like, I might not like this person for the next 3 hours, so I'm going to wait till we're landing to start a conversation. And the guy goes, so what do you do? And I say, I'm a magician. He goes, oh my gosh, why didn't you tell me that? You could have been showing me tricks the whole time. And I said, well, if you're going to answer your own question.
What do you need me here for?
Yeah.
So tell me, when I was researching you and I saw a lot of your TikToks and your Instagrams and your different comedy shows, I saw Penn and Teller on there, and I remember it must have been in the '90s. I met Penn and Teller at a corporate event at a company I was working with. When did it hit in your mind? I can do this. I'm good. I'm a magician, and nothing's stopping me now.
Well, there's been a few different key moments for me
Hmm.
that's kind of told me, yes, you are on the right path, and yes, you are good at what you do. Now, to clarify, I have been to the Foolish show as an advisor, but I haven't yet been on to attempt to fool Penn and Teller. I am actually hoping, fingers crossed, that in July, because I do have a save the date now, that they want to check my schedule. There's a 3 week time to see that they would be able to get me in there. Now it's going to depend on how many acts they have, all the different acts, and how they work well on the show, what makes good TV, and I'm hoping that I'm still going to be considered. I have a great act that I want to do for those guys, and of course they are heroes in Magic, and I want to go play the game. Part of the thing was I could have gone years ago and just done something really pretty that I can do, knowing that I know that they know that I know that they're not going to be fooled. And people have done that, and they got great exposure and complimented by two of the world's best magicians. But out of respect for them, I was just like, I want to play the game. I want to at least give it an attempt, which means you're thinking way out of the box, because now it's not just entertainment. It's not just trying to perform for the general public and do a good job. Now you're trying to fool two of the world's best, and trying to fool, which is a different training entirely, because I don't consider what I do as a trying to fool. If I fool people, if I baffle people, that's a bonus. But really, my goal is to entertain. Magic for me is just the excuse to be there. Just like, here's what I do, and that's why I'm on stage. And now that you respect that, we can talk about anything. We can do some comedy. We can mess around. We can do whatever. I think too. There's a couple of awards that really stood out for me, and one, and I think I kind of went after for two reasons. I wanted to hit the competition scene. I needed for myself to have the confidence when talking to clients, when talking to the general public, that I am really good at what I do, and that was a way of sort of me proving myself, but also proving myself in the magic community to get respect from my peers. And if you can prove yourself there, then it's going to really elevate your confidence in dealing with any situation and talking to anyone, because you know you've got those accolades behind your name. That even though the muggles, as we say, don't understand what any of that means, they can still see that those are accolades, and they can kind of feel the confidence and the respect that you've acclaimed from that. And a couple of them is the International Brotherhood of Magicians host. That's a national or international organization, and hosts a convention each year. When I first won the first place in close-up award there, I think that was definitely for me a moment of, wow, okay, I've achieved like a huge success, and I can hold my head high, and I can say, yes, I'm good at what I do. And then the second moment was even, I guess, more incredible, because you're voted on by 200 of the best sleight of hand artists in the world at a convention called the 4F convention, which happens in upstate New York. Each year you have to be reinvited. It's a 4-day event where you're watching mind-blowing magic for 4 days straight. And then at the end, everyone gets one vote for their favorite act. And they voted me. It's called the MVP award, and they voted me for that, which is one of the ones behind. Well, I can't see which one of the many trophies behind me. And so when I claimed that, which was totally unexpected, I realized a couple of things. That one, I'm respected as a magician, but two, because of the act that I did, I realized it had nothing to do with my magic. I'm a good entertainer, because it was not magic that won them over. It was acting, it was improv, it was comedy and theatrics and impressions that won the whole crowd over to get them to want to vote for me for that award.
A crowd of your peers.
Yeah, 200 of my peers, some of the most amazing sleight of hand artists ever. Like, my first time there, the front row are the people that I would watch on VHS tapes, the VHS tapes that I wore out trying to learn this stuff from and you may have to explain VHS to some of your younger viewers, but that's the only medium I had at the time. I would rent VHS tapes from the library, and these guys are the ones that are sitting in front of me now watching me perform my act, because your first 3 years there, you have to perform, you have to do your act, and you actually get a diploma for doing that. You're given a bachelor's, what's the next one? A bachelor's or master's and a PhD.
Mm-hmm. Wow, you're taking me back, because I remember I lived in Los Angeles during the early 90s, late 80s, and I had a high budget date, and we drove to Vegas, and I thought I bought tickets to one show, and I actually ended up at the Lance Burton magician show.
Oh, wow.
And I was getting the ear beating, like, what are you doing? But who wants to see this? And I was like, oh man, it was the best show ever. And it was like Lance Burton. Do you remember that guy? He was an older comedian. He was in Vegas for years.
This will blow your mind. I'm going to send you the link. The very last interview I had on what's called Something Up My Sleeve, which is sponsored by the International Brotherhood of Magicians. I interview magicians. Lance Burton was my last guest.
No way!
I'm going to send you the link. He's incredible. He's been one of my heroes since I was 12. And if you'd have told my 12-year-old self one day you're going to interview him on a Zoom call, which, like, who knows what that is, but
Right.
I was, and he's such a great guy, and just obviously loves the art of magic. He goes to conventions, just shows up, shakes hands. He's the nicest guy in the world. We had a great time. He started the interview with his puppy on his lap, so he was just ready to have fun. And he's still one of my heroes to this day. Love his stuff.
Tell him. After that show, he was my hero too, because it was the best Vegas trip I can recall, but that I could say on public. But thank you. But the one thing I want to ask is, before I turn it over to Andre, everyone's into America Got Talent, British Got Talent, all these different companies or talent shows. But the ones that seem to impress Simon the most is the magician shows. It's just like amazing. So, are there any up and coming magicians or any particular act that you've seen that just like blew your mind as a
Oh,
professional? It's like, man, I've never thought of that. Or this person on America's Got Talent was so phenomenal. How did he do that? Or do you ever say, how does he do that?
oh, all the time, all the time.
Mhm.
And one reason I think I love this art is because that'll never stop. I am constantly fooled. I'm constantly blown away. A lot of magicians, they seem to have the attitude of like they got to act like they know, even if they don't. And I can tell. I'm just like, you don't know. You have no idea. Uh, thing is, though, like layman will say, "There's no way," and I'm thinking, well, there's I think 12 ways, but I don't know which way he did it, and like it was so well hidden. And that's happened very recently, especially because I was just at the 4F convention this year, so I just had the 4 days of just mind blowing sleight of hand. But it gets to the point where your brain can't take it anymore. By the fourth day, someone could conjure a dragon, and I'd be like, whatever, dude. Like, because you're just so over the so much magic. Your brain is just broken.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
just to shout out a couple young guys up and coming, but I mean, the list would be endless because my mind can get blown so often. But a couple of guys named Dragon and Farron out of Detroit, young guys, way younger than me, they're just coming up with new stuff and doing things I've never seen because they're creating their own sleights, their own moves. And these guys just recently, we were just hanging out at a barbecue at my friend Keith's house, and they're just back to back blowing my mind with things I had never seen, and it's just so inspiring to know that the way it was described to me is like which you could use this description for a lot of things, but if you consider the knowledge of magic to be in a balloon, and if you try to learn everything within that balloon, by the time you learn everything, the balloon just keeps expanding and gets bigger and bigger, and so you'll never learn. Like, there's too many books there. I'll never learn everything. I'll never know everything there is to know about magic, and for that reason, that there is always a chance that somebody is just going to take my brain and twist it.
You talk about the balloon expanding. I think about the evolution, right? So I used to DJ, and when I look at people who DJ today, I like the style, everything about the process has evolved, right? So me
Right.
and a buddy, another friend of mine, we joke about like today, how do you stay relevant? You don't want to be the guy that walks into a club today and say, the roof, the roof is on fire. And all the kids are like, what? What's he talking about? The roof's on fire.
What's a
How do
roof?
you stay? How do you stay relevant? And you mentioned that balloon keeps expanding. How do you make sure that you remain you're not the guy that's still pulling a bunny out of a hat. You're that
Yeah.
guy
Oh,
that's
good
still
example.
wowing people. Yeah.
Good
How do
example
you do that?
because that is one thing that is difficult in our world, in the world of magic, is that you've got magicians that don't really adapt to the times, and because whoever they studied wore a tuxedo, they feel like they have to wear a tuxedo to a kid's birthday party, and I did the exact same thing. You start to have this kind of like persona or image of a magician and think that that's what you have to portray, when in fact that's not the times, that's not the situation. And you watch somebody on TV like David Blaine or Chris Angel, and these guys probably
Yeah.
wouldn't even look good in a tuxedo. They've learned
Right.
how to adapt and stay with it. I think my number one way is I teach an improv class at a local high school here in New Orleans at Jesuit High School, and so I kind of rely on my students to keep me in the know. I let them know. I'm like, when they make a joke that I don't get and everybody else is laughing, I go, all right, pause. Give me the pop reference. What am I missing here? Why do I not know who this person is? What the hell is Skibbity Toilet? Because I don't even, and so like explain this stuff to me. That and like following things on TikTok, and if I don't get, I'm like, oh, let's do a deep dive of like, okay, what does that even mean, so that I can get the joke. And really, the comedian in me, the fact that I do comedy on stage, is the reason that I have to stay up with the times and the current news and situations. If it wasn't for that, I wouldn't even pay attention, because the news to me is so depressing. I don't even watch it. But I know that I realize I do need to know about current events enough so that I get the joke, I get the reference, so that I can work off of that and improv in that situation.
It's so ironic you said that because I was just speaking with my daughter who's 16, and I said we were in some sort of essay she was writing. I was like, well, is it a friend or a foe? She's like, a foe? I was like, do you know what that means? She's like, friends over enemies. That was like, that's what they call the young people call foe, friends over enemies. And I'm like,
Oh
no,
wow.
it's a word. It's just, she looks it up. I was like, oh my God. So young people are changing the dictionary, changing the
Oh yeah.
lexicon. It's just like, wow. And I feel so obsolete when I talk to someone under 20. It's just like they
Oh
have a
yeah.
new, and it's English, but it's a totally different language of
Yeah, it
English.
is like it's like their own language. And the minute you got it, you've lost it. Because I the other day I was like, let me flex a little. They're like, flex? We don't say
What?
flex anymore. Like I just learned that word. It's the first time I use it, and now it's obsolete.
Yeah,
Jeez.
you know, that word too long. Here's another question for you. So, using that DJ reference before, something I really enjoyed doing. Let's say I was doing a birthday party, right? So I get a sense of the demographic, and I based on that, and I know which records to bring. The fact that I had to bring records tells you how long ago this was. But
Records, yeah.
and so I knew what to play when, and sometimes you have to alter the playlist depending on what's happening on the dance floor. And one of the best feelings is when you drop a song and you get that or whatever the response is, whatever the positive response is. It's intoxicating. It takes over your body. Talk to me about how you prepare for a show and those moments in the show where you're like, oh, I got them. This is it. Talk to me about that.
Well, there's a difference in the amount of preparation depending on the effect, but what's strange is that people don't know that. So while some things may be very easy mechanically and what we would call like a self-working trick, the effect might be the exact same result as something that has taken me 15 years to master, because the sleight of hand, the mechanics, the prestidigitation, the work behind it is so intense, and it depends on what your passion is and what it is you're trying to portray. But the moments you can basically hear the crowd, when it's hitting and when it's working based on their reaction, and when it's not. Like for example, I have these so these are regular cards here, like a bicycle back regular types of cards. I started using these metallic cards, which I'm looking to see if I have one right here to show you the difference. And what I do a routine where the back of the card changes color, and that's a huge moment for the audience when it's so unexpected. And I was at the Chicago Magic Lounge in what's called the 654 Club, which is meant for close-up magic, small intimate group seats less than 50 that are watching you like stadium seating style. And I didn't get the reaction that I was going for, and realized because of the way the lights were hitting the metallic back cards, it wasn't an obvious change from blue to red. They couldn't really see that right away, and I had to take the time to show them. And that's not the reaction. You don't want this delayed, like, oh, I get it. You want, whoa, like that's and
Exactly.
I could
Right.
tell that the
Yeah.
reaction wasn't there, and so
Yeah.
then I realized, okay, I didn't realize the lights were going to affect the color and not make it as obvious. So then I had to switch back to these. And not only did I switch to these, instead of just using a blue back card, I used this, which now you can tell I have a green screen because the green is sort of
Yeah.
fade. It's becoming invisible there. But
Right.
it's because it's a yellow and green at the end. It's a rainbow kind of colored card. And because I was using the rainbow card, it opened up a whole nother joke once the card changed from a regular red back to one of these. Then I was able to incorporate more comedy into the routine, because I call this le je te crois. I don't know if you've seen like the TikToks from France where instead of saying the letters LGBT, they don't pronounce, they pronounce it as a word. So they just
Okay.
go le je te crois. They just pronounce all the letters. So every time I
Okay.
see a rainbow now, I'm like le je te crois.
Quoi?
So it's like, isn't it beautiful? It's like
Yeah.
acceptance
Yeah.
can be beautiful in French.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
But so that was an example of like not getting the
Yeah.
reaction that you desire, and knowing right away, okay, something's different. I gotta backtrack and figure out what is different here.
Right. Right. That's where improv probably comes in handy for you, where you can think on your toes.
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
think that's my number one, the number one skill that I picked up along the way that separates me from other magicians, is the ability to improv and mastering that ability so that I'm ready for any situation, because it's blown my mind. I've done lectures all over the world for magicians, and I ask the question, raise your hand if you know the mantra of improv, the main two words that we say. And maybe one out of every group said yes and I actually heard that, which meant that all of these magicians had tunnel vision. They learn magic, they crack a book, they learn how to do a card trick, but all the other aspects of theater, of acting, of blocking, of movement, of choreography and improv, they hadn't mastered, they hadn't learned. And that stuff is so vital to any performance, especially a performance where part of what you're doing is so psychological and has to do with misdirection.
Right. So, Michael, I would be remiss if I didn't ask a magician who's sitting in front of me virtually with a deck of cards not to do a magic trick. So what do you have, Michael?
So I'm
Knock me out of my chair.
I'm actually going to use these cards, which are a little bigger. I sometimes I use larger cards because I understand that some of you might be hard of hearing. So I'm using the bigger. No, I say it in front of the camera. I know some of y'all are hard of hearing, so I'm using bigger cards. But I usually explain this because most people, when they think magician, they don't think large deck. But here we are. So I'm going to show you what happened. Now, I remember when you guys visited New Orleans. It was years ago, but I was performing on Bourbon Street. You might not even remember. But what happened was Smiley walked up to me and grabbed my cards from me. And he goes, "Okay, Mr. Magician, let me shuffle." And that's not my impression of Smiley. That's my impression of everyone on Bourbon Street in New Orleans. And so this is what he did. Look at this. He shuffled them. This is the worst thing you could do for a magician. Shuffle face up and to face down. So all the cards, you have no idea what direction any card is facing. This is a mess. So anytime, this is a horrible thing to do, to shuffle cards like this for a magician. But luckily, I went to Hogwarts. So I remembered my spells. So I put the cards back in the box and I cast the spell Ridiculous. And the funny thing was, because the last thing he said was, Smiley goes, "Final card now." And I said, well, that was weird because he never picked one. But I said, "All right, Smiley, what was your card?" And he said,
Ten of diamonds.
You do remember. I knew it was you.
10 of diamonds.
So then, because I had cast the spell, I showed him that, believe it or not, the cards are fine. They're no longer all shuffled up, face up, and to face down. We're good. We're back to normal, so the cards are totally fine. Well, except for this, there is one card that appears to still be shuffled out of the entire deck, which is, in fact, your 10 of diamonds. So now you know magic is real.
That is...
Mike, how did you do that?
I'd say pretty well.
It was the Hogwarts spell. That's what it was.
They're ridiculous.
So tell me this. You mentioned the improvisation, the theater. You said the comedy, different things you do. Can you talk a little bit about the business side of magic? Or are you like an actor? You have an agent, CCA or CAE or whatever it is. Does the business world of magic work similar to actors or athletes or performers, like orchestras for professional pianists or something?
Well, what I can mainly compare it to, because I'm in the acting field and I have an agent that keeps me busy with auditions for that, that is very similar to how it might work with an agent. And I have a couple of agents that book me here in New Orleans and other areas as well, but a lot that focus on the tourist community and the corporate crowd coming to New Orleans. So they try to keep me busy in this area. And I do a lot of booking on my own. I do a lot of stuff that I book myself. And I've recently worked on a few different cruise ships, but for private clients. So not for the cruise line, but doing like 1 week at a time, which is a great amount of time to do 1 or 2 weeks in and out, and enjoy the cruise lifestyle. But I don't have a cruise agent. And that's one thing that I'm trying to do, because that is a difficult agency. That is a difficult industry to break into, because they do usually rely strictly on agents to provide entertainment, and to find the entertainment. And once agents have their select people that they work with, they may not be looking for someone else. And so it is kind of, that I've learned, is a difficult industry. But that's one example. And I honestly, you have to do the same things you do in any business. And I hate that side of it, actually. I really, sorry about that. I really hate the business side of things, of having to respond to emails and talk to clients and make phone calls. And mainly because I've done sales at the beginning of my career. I tried different sales, pretty much everything, and learned that, yeah, because of my personality and the fact that I'm an entertainer, I can be good at sales. But it's different when you're selling yourself, when you have to, when you're the product, because it's like, this is how much we're charging for me, but we have a sale on me this week. It's kind of weird. And I'll actually say that, just to get a laugh from him and like relax the situation, because you always have that, you always cringe when you have to start talking numbers and prices and everything. But part of my whole venture to achieve awards and accolades was to build up that confidence so that I can confidently give a price and go like, no, I know. Like one guy goes, and it was for like a kid's event. He's like, really, that's your price for 30 minutes? And I said, no, that's my price for 30 years. Because I've got 30 years of experience and accolades and awards that make me a quality entertainer. And so that's what you're getting. It's not about the 30. In fact, the 30 minutes is free. It's about everything leading up to that gets me there, just getting off the couch and getting dressed. And now, so it's the awards and accolades that give me the confidence, and the fact that I have cats now. Because now that I'm a cat dad, if you want me to leave my cats, you got to pay me. I love my kitty cats, and I would rather stay home and play with my cat. So
I love it.
I'll get off the couch, but it's gonna cost you.
It's gonna cost you.
Well, before we move into the final four, Michael, are there any questions or anything you want to share with our listeners, our audience, or future magicians? Someone who's 5, 6, 7, or 8 who may have stumbled upon you on YouTube or Instagram. Anything you want to say before we move into the final four?
Just that don't let anybody else tell you what you should pursue. That if you have a passion for something, keep it going. But also, you might discover that that's not your passion. Like there's a kid that I was kind of coaching and was really into magic, but then discovered that he has such a love for music. And music really became his passion. So magic's more of a hobby. So he wasn't going to go the same route as me. And that's totally fine, because I'm like, whatever your passion is, once you find it, you're like one of the luckiest people in the world to have found that and to discover that about yourself. So don't ever feel like you're letting anyone else down on your own path. Because I think for a while he felt like, well, maybe he was letting me down because he wasn't pursuing magic professionally, which is not the case at all, because I couldn't be prouder of anyone that finds their passion and pursues it, and especially when it is the art. But I think the main thing I want to portray to anyone at any age who's getting involved with my art or any art is to remember to put the art first. What really starts to suffer, what really makes the art suffer, is when you put yourself first. And we see a lot of situations. I'm not going to give specific examples because I don't want to insult other people, other famous performers, but we've seen situations that they put themselves or their fame or the monetary value before the actual art, and that's when it suffers as a whole for the whole community. And you have to remember that in long term, the art found you, and you have an obligation to be respectful of that art. And if you're gonna, whatever the art is, if you're gonna wield that art, you need to be respectful of it, and you need to acknowledge that you are nothing without it. It exists without you, but you don't exist without the art. So keep that in mind, and always ask yourself, am I putting the art first? And one simple example is when someone purposely exposes magic. That is an easy example of they're deciding to put themselves and their wants and needs above what the art truly is.
Oh, I like that. And man, so we're going to move into the final four, and then I'm going to put a twist on it.
Okay.
The twist is we talk. Thank you, Dre. The twist is we talked about Lance Burton. We talked about Penn and Teller. If you had the opportunity to spend 24 hours with a magician, alive or dead,
Oh, wow.
which magician and why? It can be any magician from the beginning of time to currently alive, but which one and why for 24 hours?
Well, the which one may be predictable and unfortunately sounds stagnant if you asked anyone else, because he's probably the most famous magician in history. But the why is what might be different about my answer. I would say Houdini, but the reason is not, I wouldn't even want to learn any tricks from him. I wouldn't say, show me a card trick, teach me how you did. None of that. I don't even care about learning escapes. I've never wanted to put my life or limb in danger. I've never understood that. That is not my passion. Like, if it hurts, I'm out. You know what I mean? Like no, I don't like the pain. I'm not holding my
Right.
breath. Forget it. I do card tricks. I'm not going to
Yeah.
be underwater. But Houdini, he's got to be one of the greatest geniuses of all time when it comes to marketing.
Yeah.
And I would love to raise him from the dead today and show him TikTok and go, what would you do with this? Because think about how famous he was, not just now, how famous he was at his time, at his peak, with not any of those tools, with having to have somebody go ahead of him to each town and post flyers, like literally paste flyers to walls. That was the only way to let people know and to spread the word and to do brilliant things like get somebody to challenge him and make it look like they were actually a foe, a friend over enemy, when really it was a plant. It was a whole setup of like somebody in the crowd going, use these handcuffs. Well, they didn't know where the handcuffs came from. They don't know if somebody gave them, if one of Houdini's people gave them those handcuffs and told him what to do. Little things like that, little genius marketing techniques. I mean, the whole game was really a lot of psychology, and I just wish I had even a portion of that type of creativity when it comes to how to market yourself. And I would love to know what Houdini would be able to do with our modern day tools. I mean, what would Houdini do with AI? It would be he'd be so unstoppable today. Yeah. Really, he would probably own Elon Musk right now. He would own Elon Musk if Houdini was alive today.
Okay. Next question. What's the best compliment that you've received? Best compliment.
One that stands out is because of knowing my methods and knowing how my effects work. I'm on stage with a deck of cards using my parlor-sized cards so that people can see them very easily. And I do a routine I call jazz cards, where I appear to memorize a shuffled deck and then find any card named and tell them where it is in the deck. An amazing card practitioner, one of the best in the world, named Doc Easton, was who's performing regularly at the Magic Castle. It was Bristol, England. He was also booked for that convention. He's in the back of the audience, and he says to me after the show, he goes, "If that was a regular deck of cards, then I have no idea how you did it." And to have like someone as knowledgeable as that admit to me that he has no idea, when actually the way I did it, I'll tell you guys, because I say it, nobody believes me, is I'm improving. It's the skill of improv that I'm using the whole time to be able to find the card any way I want, and just utilizing all the sleight of hand skills that I have. I relate it to jazz musicians, because when you see a jazz musician get on stage, they may play with no music notes with someone they've never played before, and it's absolutely gorgeous because that's how well they know their instrument, that they can just jam with it. And I figure, if this is my instrument, I should be able to jam. And in jamming well enough, it looks so beautiful that it looks impossible. And so and I never intended to fool magicians, but in the process it actually did. And so that always stood out in my mind, of having such a great card practitioner say that to me and admit that to me was amazing.
Wow, that's cool. Words
that was hard
so
to narrow
powerful.
it down because I've had so many awesome compliments, and mainly the fact that I'm so humble. I am so humble. I mean, you would not believe how humble I am.
Well, this might you might have answered this question. The third final four question is, what is one thing that you wish people knew about you that they don't know about you?
Well, what people don't know
That you wish they knew.
Since it hasn't come up yet, one thing that I hope that at some point everybody knows in the future, but I've sort of kept it under mask as an alter ego. And eventually, I think it's going to be cool when people connect that, oh, that's the same guy. During the pandemic, I became very hardcore interested in virtual reality. And one of the things I did was started performing and streaming on Twitch as a ninja in VR games, where it's in mixed reality and you can see me as the game character dressed as a ninja, playing these different games. It's called Freak VR is my ninja name, and I have TikTok, YouTube, Instagram for Freak VR, and I started doing that on a regular basis. It was not only a great way to stay in shape because I'm doing all these rhythm games, but so much fun, and also started to monetize that as well. And what was amazing to me is like what you start learning about what your skills and attributes are. And when I first thought, oh, people are going to tune in just to see me do a good job at the game and like look like a ninja in virtual reality, really what they're tuning in for is the comedy, because in between each of the games and the rounds and the music, I'm just goofing off. I'm being a funny ninja. But it was just kind of funnier to see a ninja acting like juggling rubber chickens and messing with people in the chat, improvising off of whatever they're saying. And it is such a blast. And it's also such good training. I've gone over videos and not remembered that that's where I came up with stuff, but I'll use jokes on stage now that I actually just randomly thought of during a session as Freak VR and realized, oh, that's like, for example, the other day at the 4F convention, I decided to mansplain the word mansplain.
Man,
And I thought I had just come up with that then, and then I just reviewed a video and realized, oh, I did that as the ninja, and on the Twitch channel, I did that joke, and that's why it was in my head. Like I still had that in the back of my head, so it wasn't even
That's
it was
funny.
something that I come up with a long time ago. So that's been really interesting, challenging, and so much fun. And honestly, like if someone told me like you're going to have to quit doing magic for the next 3 years and just focus on being the ninja. Like if I knew that someone had a sponsor and they were paying me, I would totally do it, because that's as fun as my career is. And as much as I love it, I love that just as much. Like it's amazing when you discover like, wow, I can be passionate about something else. And my ADD brain always has to have other things to focus on anyway. That's why it's hard to promote things, because I'm always like, yeah, let me promote these 12 things to you. Write them down. Go to the link, instead of just staying focused. So there is something to be said about staying focused, having that tunnel vision. But at the same time, I love that I have many different avenues and many different ways to achieve creativity. That was important to me. Creative outlet. As long as I have some creative outlet, it doesn't really matter if it's my face, if it's my words, if it's writing, if it's acting. Doesn't matter as long as I get to be creative.
I love it. I love it. Michael, you're hilarious. You're witty. You're
Thank you.
clever with your jokes. I'm over here dying. I can imagine, being in the audience with you, just kind of watching you do your thing. For you, what's one thing that never fails to make you laugh?
Oh, one thing that never fails to make me laugh. Can a TV show count? Like,
Whatever.
so, okay, so one of my comfort shows, what I'll do is I'll watch a whole series, and then once I really like it, it kind of stays on in the background, just kind of keep my brain distracted so I don't get distracted by other things. And so I won't really realize I'm paying attention, because I actually can get work done as long as I have something in the background. And there are certain shows that I watch, and one that you would think that I would be sick of, because I could probably recite every line of The Office. And for some reason, and I've never worked in an office. I can't even relate to any of these characters. It baffles me of like, why am I so into that show when I can't relate at all? But for some reason, it never fails to make me laugh. It works every time. And just, the brilliance of the way that comedy is written. And so, yeah, that would be an example of like, you would think that I've seen them all so much, I would be over it. And no, it works. It constantly works. And it works in the background, because I'll stop what I'm doing and start laughing because it registers of something funny that happened. So it's like, while I'm kind of like subconsciously paying attention, and I'll still hear that laughter. And it kind of, when you do that, it sort of starts teaching you also about the rhythm and the timing of comedy as well. The fact that can still work without even paying attention and having that need to laugh. I realized one time in the back of a room, I was opening for a Cajun comedian. I was done with my set, and it was a really long room at like a country club. So I'm at the bar getting a drink, and I'm far enough that I can't really make out what he's saying. So I didn't even know what it was about, but because of the cadence, I started laughing at the bar and didn't know why I was laughing. I started laughing along with the rest of the crowd because the timing and the cadence was so perfect. It made me want to laugh. And that was a huge realization as well. Of like, wow, that's how powerful timing can be.
Yeah. You mentioned timing. My guess is that just like comedy, magic has timings everything, right? In terms of how
Absolutely.
how you create that suspense, how you create that kind of draw them in and then hit them with a pow. My son, who was 16, man, he's not one of those guys that's like his goal isn't to be a comedian, but his comedic timing is impeccable. He just, I don't know where he gets it from. I think he gets it from me, but he is, the timing, every time he does whatever he does, I'm like, where does he get this timing from? It's just innate. He's had it. I'll share this quickly, then we'll move on. Came home from work. He was like 5. My daughter was 3. And my daughter asked me to bring her something home. I forget what it was. And I forgot. And so my daughter's like, oh, where is it? I said, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't get it. And so my son says to her something like, it's okay. He'll bring it tomorrow when he comes home. And then I'm like, oh, isn't that sweet? And as I'm walking away, he whispers to me, I just saved your life. He's like 5.
That's right.
So anyway, yeah, timing's everything. Was there another one, Smiley?
No, that was 4.
Okay, so
That was 4.
So, Michael, one thing I wanted to share with our listeners here.
Wait, you didn't ask me the one question I was ready for.
Oh, yeah, what's that one question, and then answer it?
Because one of the questions in your email was, who would you switch places with for a day?
And
it's not about me switching places so I get to, which would be fun for me to experience their life, but I want them to experience my life for one day, and that is I want Channing Tatum to understand what it's like to be the other Magic Mike. One day. Let him not be him for one day, because for the last 12 years I've had to explain I'm not that Magic Mike.
I'm the original Magic Mike. That's what I'm telling everybody.
The OG Magic Mike. And I tag everything now. # not that Magic Mike. All because of him stealing my name. I was Magic Mike way before he came along. And now I have to tell people, I'm sorry to disappoint you, but I would disappoint you. And so I want him to experience being me for a day. That's so sorry. I was ready for that one. I was hoping you would ask that. So go ahead. I'm sorry I interrupted.
You're good. I'm glad you stopped me. Look at this. Do you have any upcoming shows, Mike? Do you have any upcoming shows?
There's a couple of big Magic conventions that are going to have public shows, and these are the national conventions. And there's a lot going on because the world competition, the qualification is starting for the World Championships, which is every 3 years in a different country. So that is happening the end of August, 1st of September, that weekend of August 30th. That's in Texas, in Dallas. That's going to be a huge convention. There will be public shows for people to attend. And then also in mid-July is Tacoma, Washington, which is the IBM's convention, International Brotherhood of Magicians, which also will have public shows available. My next upcoming event that's not private events booked would be Houston. There's going to be 3 shows in Houston that people can attend, and that is going to be June. That's going to be June 25th through 29th. And I'll have stuff. There's already some things on Facebook and all, but I'm going to put all my links out because it's 3 different venues, including a restaurant called Pilates and also Margaritaville. And for any magicians watching, I'm also doing a lecture in town that's for the Magic Club as well. But that's the next upcoming public show that I'll be doing.
Yeah.
Michael, I grew up in Appleton, Wisconsin, and that's where Houdini lived. So we got a Houdini museum and all that stuff. But just listening to you talk about Lance Burton, Penn and Teller, and just the journey of a magician. I think, Dre, correct me, I think Michael's our first magician ever on the show. And
nice.
And the funniest one at that.
And the funniest one at that, and your words of wisdom.
Well, and if I'm the only one, I'm also the best looking. So
the best looking.
And most humble.
So we appreciate you taking your time on this Saturday to talk to us. Thanks for being the original Magic Mike.
OG Magic Mike. You got it.
Yeah, man. Thanks for being on the show. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. This is fun.